Commencing transmission. Engaging scramblers. Proxy chain initialized. And now, live from his hidden base at the Earth's core, the future ruler of Earth, Doomcock.
Today, I am in a dark mood, my friends. Today, Doomcock was confronted by a terrible problem. Ever since insiders with early access started shilling for Picard Season 3, I have had one message. If you support this show, you are rewarding Alex Kurtzman and Secret Hideout for viciously destroying Star Trek for years. The narrative that the shills have been shilling is, Terry Matalas is doing Trek right. This is a return to the next generation, a loving tribute to Star Trek, so you need to give it a chance. My response has been quite simple. Watching Picard Season 3 is like watching a loving video tribute to your dead grandmother made by the very people that killed your grandmother. And if you have to pay to watch that video tribute, you're putting money in the pockets of the people who murdered your grandmother, rewarding them for their crime. I have shouted this from the highest rooftops. Have you no memory? Have you no pride? Do you not recall all of this abuse? But sadly, there are still those who are so desperate to see the sad, tattered remains of the Next Generation cast reunited, they're blinding themselves to the truth that Picard Season 3 is just more Kurtzman Trek. They are seeing this latest abomination through the haze of empty hope and are willing to bend over backwards and give this thing a try with rose-colored glasses. Hypnosis is a term that I coined, and it describes the psychological need to blind yourself to the truth of something when the truth is too painful to acknowledge and the hype surrounding the event is strong. It happened with the Phantom Menace back in the day, when the initial glow of approval faded to disappointment once people had time to consider what they had actually seen, not what they wish they'd seen. In order to help counteract this hypnosis surrounding Picard, I have been forced to soil and debase myself by watching the first episode of Picard Season 3. And I guarantee you, this shit in no way resembles Star Trek: The Next Generation. Look, I love Star Trek. The hideous abuse of Star Trek at the hands of Secret Hideout was what motivated me to start my channel in the first place, because I could not stand seeing Gene Roddenberry's masterpiece debased like this, turned from an inspirational future full of faith in humanity to a dumbed-down, cynical, violent piece of idiotic filth made by people who hate Star Trek. Since 2017, after countless episodes of Kurtzman's new Trek brand, they have not managed to create even one decent character, scene, or moment in all that time, and the sheer vicious stupidity of their approach to Star Trek is irredeemable. For this reason, it is my contention that the only way to save Star Trek is to get it out of the hands of the cultural vandals at Secret Hideout and Bad Robot, and that means sticking to your guns, remembering the abuse, and shoring up your pride, standing firm against these abusers and the hype surrounding them. Some fans, despite what I feel is the obvious logic of this argument, remain somewhat akin to Doubting Thomas's, saying, but what if Picard Season 3 really is good? What if they've recaptured the magic? Well, my friends, I have taken the hit for you, though it cost me dearly. I watched this thing because some of you simply will not listen to me otherwise. I have seen Star Trek Picard Season 3, and I can tell you straight up, without reservations of any kind, this is just Kurtzman Trek, hidden inside a Trojan horse made up of member berries and hype from Kurtzman allies who should know better, and I'm going to make that case in this video. I will bite the bullet and review the first episode for those of you who need to know that I have indeed stuck my hand in the side of the Star Trek corpse only to confirm it is indeed dead. But before I get into this review, I will try to make my point one more time. If you fall for this Kurtzman Trek Trojan horse, they will sneak past your defenses into your brain and further eradicate everything you remember about the next generation, and even worse, you will be sending a signal to Hollywood that fans are every bit as pathetic as Kurtzman always thought they were. It says Hollywood can shit all over fans for years and years and years, and as soon as they sprinkle member berries on the shit, desperate fanboys will lap it all up again like good little sheep. And after all the disrespect, the money will continue flowing in. Without respect, we reject. This is not just a slogan I created. This means a lot to me. I have done my very best to stay true to myself and to warn fans after years of abuse of fans and the Star Trek franchise by secret hideout Kurtzman and all his minions, that if you support Picard Season 3, you're essentially bending the knee not just to Kurtzman, but to all of Hollywood. I have maintained all along that it doesn't matter if Picard Season 3 is good or bad. If you watch it, if you support it, if you fall for their hype, then you are rewarding Alex Kurtzman and Secret Hideout, because make no mistake, this is Kurtzman Trek. A simple glimpse of the credits should make that painfully clear. This is the same old canon criminals behind this. Their names are all over it, and they profit from your support. If you forget the years of horrible abuse of Star Trek at the hands of Secret Hideout and Bad Robot, dating all the way back to 2017, you're playing right into their hands and proving that they can abuse and mock fans with impunity and pay no price for their abuse. They'll come running back as soon as we toss the losers a few member berries. That's what Hollywood will say. That's what they think of us, people. And that's what they've done here, thinking we're stupid enough not to remember what Star Trek actually is, was, and is supposed to be. They think that the hype will actually make us doubt our own eyes and our own memories, but I am not afflicted by hypnosis. Let me be clear, folks. Picard Season 3 is a Trojan horse, covered with pleasing surface details, containing nothing less than a poison pill for fandom, and at worst, a blueprint for Hollywood on how to abuse fans however they want to, then lure them back with empty, phony member berries. If Picard Season 3 succeeds, Kurtzman will be given another chance by Paramount. That's how Hollywood works. His name is all over it. He is the executive producer and creator of the show, and he will get right back to his old tricks. But if that's not enough to convince you of the danger to Star Trek here, then here's my review. God help me. Right off the bat, we see once again that no one in the new Trek universe can afford light bulbs. We see Beverly Crusher on a dingy, dirty wreck of a ship, hiding out from generic space bad guys. A bunch of them board her dark, badly lighted ship, and right away, folks, right away, we see that this is not Star Trek. Beverly Crusher was a doctor. She was not Rambo, not Schwarzenegger, not a Starfleet commando, and yet right away, Matala starts out with the old pew pew as badass Beverly Crusher disintegrates a bunch of alien troops single-handedly, like Clint Eastwood with boobs. Yeah, nothing says Next Generation more than gentle Dr. Crusher in a shootout with vicious aliens on, what else? A dark, ugly Kurtzman Trek ship. I mean, dear God, how blind do you have to be? Here's Beverly on The Next Generation. Here's Beverly on Picard. Any questions? Picard Season 3 has the same ugly Stark effects, the same old Kurtzman Trek, slow, plodding dark sets with muted colors, browns, blacks, and blues, a bruise on the dying body of Star Trek. Just the same as always. But need more convincing. Okay, here we go, gang. What does Kurtzman love even more than pulling people's eyes out and dropping F-bombs? Kurtzman loves degrading Starfleet and everyone associated with it. Gene Roddenberry conceived the Federation as having the highest ideals, the greatest morality, and Starfleet reflected that commitment to optimism and faith in humanity. But time and time again, Kurtzman Trek presents a morally bankrupt Federation riddled with conspirators. admirals that say shit like sheer fucking hubris. Kurtzman and Secret Hideout clearly hate Roddenberry's optimism. They wanted to make Game of Thrones in space, hence the plucked eyeballs and severed baby heads. And once again, this so-called reset for Star Trek by Matalas continues that tradition of debasement and ugliness. Surprise, surprise, there's a conspiracy inside Starfleet. Yawn. Beverly sends a desperate coded message to Picard asking for help, saying keep Starfleet out of it, trusts no one. Good God, fuck me, people. Seriously? Again? Are you kidding? How can so many people be blinded by the shill hype when the truth is right in front of their eyes? Look at the thing. Think about the hidden coded messages beneath the member berries. I can't believe I even have to say these things when they're plain as the plucked out eyeball on your screen. Folks, there are insults and slanders toward the original Next Generation show all throughout this thing. They're hidden under Picard and Riker's retorts because they do reply to the insults, and yet constantly, there are insults to the Next Generation, to the Enterprise D, and to Picard and Riker throughout the first episode, as if Kurtzman and Matalas, because let's face it, Matalas is just Kurtzman in sheep's clothing, as if Kurtzman and Matalas hate the Next Generation so much, they just can't stand to treat them with respect. They have to let insult after insult slip out from inside their Trojan member berry. In the bar, for example, they have models of classic Trek ships for sale to customers, because it's almost time to celebrate a Starfleet holiday called Frontier Day, but guess what? There are tons of leftover Enterprise D models just sitting there on the shelves, and when Riker asks why, the bartender tells him, no one wants those, they don't sell. Says they're fat. Yeah, there you go. That there is Matalas respecting the Next Generation. Oh yeah, well if that's respect, I'd hate to see an insult. And yet it continues, folks. In that bar, Picard and Riker hatch a plan to basically hijack and divert Riker's old command, the Titan, to go to the coordinates that Beverly provided in code. They dock on the Titan and go up to the bridge, which is of course dark and ugly as fuck, exactly like the Disgracery in STD. I guess they can't afford light bulbs either. And 7 of 9, who is stationed on this ship, takes Riker and Picard down to meet Captain Shaw for dinner in his quarters. But really, they're not going for dinner. They're going to insult Picard and Riker some more. Captain Shaw, the commander of the Titan, is the perfect Kurtzman Trek character. He takes shots at Picard and Riker without knowing what the hell he's talking about, repeatedly dismissing their achievements and careers as irresponsible, pew-pew, out-of-control cowboy diplomacy. Huh? What the fuck? Did Matalas never even watch The Next Generation? See, Matalas is desperate to make this seem exciting, like Picard was an old-school cowboy, but contrary to what Matalas is trying to sell here, Picard was never a cowboy like Kirk was. The Next Generation was, in general, measured, slow, and pacifist, even at times to the point of being flat-out boring. So Matalas is trying to revive the spirit of Trek by referring to cowboy glory days that never existed in Picard's Next Generation. Let me quote Shaw so you understand what I'm talking about. Shaw rejects their request to divert to the coordinates Beverly provided during their routine inspection of the Titan, saying, quote, I love you guys, I do. I love reading about your exciting, wildly irresponsible adventures. Yeah, saying that this inspection is going to be boring for them because nobody's going to be shooting and ducking and blowing up. Yeah, fuck you, Shaw. This entire scene is filled with nothing but disrespect and insults to Picard, Riker, and any Next Generation fan suckered into watching this shit. And it gets worse. Forget about high ideals, exploration, telling moral tales of the new technologies that vindicate our faith in humanity. Nah. The plot goes to a terrorist attack. An attack that only the sleazy, skeezy riffraffy discovers, too late, of course, to stop anything. A terrorist attack on Earth that levels a Federation building? Again? More Kurtzman Trek by way of Jar Jar Abrams, shades of Star Trek into darkness, for fuck's sake. This is absolutely Kurtzman Trek, even in terms of the stupidity of the plotting. 7 of 9 diverts the Titan to the coordinates without letting Shaw know, then helps Picard and Riker steal a shuttlecraft to go looking for Crusher. Shaw wakes up, realizes what's happening, and runs to the bridge just as it registers on the console that a shuttlecraft has launched. I mean, it's happening right in front of Shaw. Now, of course, Shaw could easily track down Picard and nab him with a tractor beam. As much attitude as this guy had about Picard, he'd definitely do that. I mean, shit, he's on the bridge when the alert goes out. Lock tractor beam on the shuttle. Or how about you just use the override code, you know, like in Wrath of Khan? They'd certainly have that on shuttles, for fuck's sake, since they were having it way back on Kirk's Enterprise way back in Wrath of Khan. As many times as shuttles have been stolen, they would have those codes installed now. More idiotic plotting by a Kurtzman Trek writer. Ignore canon logic and just plain common sense when it interferes in your slapdash derivative little plot. Shaw just bitches at 7 of 9 as he completely lets Picard go on the stolen shuttlecraft. Yeah, right. But it gets even worse, folks. As angry as I was, I had to laugh my ass off when Picard goes to Beverly's ship and confronts Beverly's son. Oh, that's right. Ripping off Wrath of Khan now, are we? Picard confronts a young man from his past, and you realize this probably means Picard is his daddy, right? Oh, does this fucking thing have an original beat? I think Metalis was trying to kill me with laughter, because not only do we have a ripoff of Wrath of Khan with Picard confronting Beverly's and probably his son, but then suddenly the Narada appears right out of fucking JJ Trek. A ridiculously huge killer Kurtzman Trek ship, just like we've seen constantly in Kurtzman Trek, looming in front of Beverly's ship. Good God in heaven. The last bit of disrespect for the Next Generation comes right out of Riker's own mouth. In the dark, drab, miserable bar owned by Alex Kurtzman, Riker says he's making a speech on Frontier Day, but then, surrounded by Enterprise D models that no one wants to buy, Riker tells Picard, who wants to listen to an old fart droning about going boldly for 250 years. And there you have it. The dripping contempt for Star Trek right out of Riker's own mouth. What the fuck is the point of that? They resent that they've had to go ahead and cloak themselves in as much Star Trek as they are cloaking themselves in to sell Picard Season 3. But make no mistake, this is not Star Trek. This is Kurtzman Trek. With a corrupt Federation, discarded Enterprise D models treated like trash, Starfleet officers insulting our heroes, the entire show is basically pretending to endorse the Next Generation while repudiating it, saying, if you value the past, you're an old fart. The Enterprise D wasn't all that. Welcome to your new improved Star Trek, straight from the bowels of Alex Kurtzman. This is your replacement Trek. They even had the balls to call this episode The Next Generation, but they weren't even talking about the old show. They were talking about themselves. This is an invasion of the franchise body snatchers, people. This is code. Am I the only one who can see it? It's just a Trojan horse designed to fool you. Don't be fooled. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.
Ha 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 ha.